Hello, everyone. We are back. We just finished the masterclass with Rosanna Arquette. They are wrapping up the picture signing back there, and we're getting ready for the 6 p.m. red carpet. And then we have the short films block later on tonight. We are streaming live both on Facebook and YouTube for the fifth annual Yucca Valley Film Festival. It is a free admission festival. So if you guys are around the area, we're here tonight. We're going to be here all day tomorrow. But if not, I am guiding you guys through this podcast throughout the rest of the festival, going in and out, talking to filmmakers from the festival, talking to local community leaders. And I do want to give a shout out and a big thanks to Marianne Fenley over at State Farm Yucca Valley because she has sponsored this podcast. So thank you to Marianne, and also thank you to all of the sponsors and the community leaders at Yucca Valley for helping make this possible and bringing all of these filmmakers, both local and not local, together, because it's been a really, really special energy. So we're gonna jump right into our next interview. I have Philip Nelson here. Oh, hello, Philip. We are joined by, what is your name, sir?
My name's Alan Wayne Anderson.
Alan Wayne Anderson. I like it. So tell us a little bit about your film and your role in the film.
So I am the writer and the director of Unripe. It is a short comedy western, and it kind of just follows this newly, cowgirl who's new to like the outlaw scene, and it's basically just a little back and forth. It's all in one location. It's back and forth film between her and another girl, western, cowgirl who's they're gonna have a duel together, and basically it's like a comedy, it's like a satire just between, just like like the interaction that they have and how silly it is.
Yeah.
So,
and Alan, was it?
Alan.
There was a long.
Well, Alan Wayne Anderson.
Alan Wayne
Anderson.
My
stage
I was like,
name.
which one of the three did I get right? So what's your role?
So I have a small but yet important part in the. I wish our two leads were here, but they're arriving a little later. But there's a couple onlookers that stroll by and see this thing taking place, this duel about to take place, and we're we're very character kind of guys, and we stop and make some comments and engage with the girls who are telling us, leave us alone, we're in the middle of something here.
Okay.
And it becomes this funny scene. So,
Oh, fun. Yeah. So Western comedy, what inspired the film? Are you a Western guy?
I've always been a big fan of anything, timepieces, anything that's on the present day. And so I've always wanted to make a Western. The future I want to make something bigger. But and I was thinking, how can I make a Western different? How can I make it more different than what we've seen? And I thought, well, I don't see many, cowgirls in there, especially at duels.
Yeah.
And then as I started writing it, I just thought to myself, I would really like to make this more into a comedy, but not noticeable comedy. Just something that the situation was silly, and so I went out for a walk one night and I thought about the whole film right then and there, and then the next day I think I wrote it in a day and a half, and then and then I started filming I think a couple months later, and so
did the script go through like different iterations?
It didn't. It was just one first draft.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was actually, because usually when I write I change it so much, but I was so pleased with how I had it. I maybe changed like a little bit of it, but I was very pleased with how it came out, on paper. And so I just kept it there, and it was it was so fun. It's been such a big one of the first films I put out. And so
how long was the production phase of it? Actually shooting it?
Just a day. Whole day.
Nice. Where'd you guys shoot?
Over in California City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you guys from there?
No, I'm from Ventura County, but I live in LA County now.
Okay. Why did you choose California City?
I was looking for a desert vibe, something that I can get away with filming in, because LA's tough for that. And I actually had this one guy reach out to me, John Fisher, and he helps with location scouts, and he has a property out there. And he had this open desert near him, and he says people filmed there before, and so he came out. We talked, and he told me that he would help me, accommodate filming there, and so that's just where it happened, and I was just forever grateful for that.
Wow, amazing! I feel like it just kind of like worked out. There's some people, this is definitely the shortest span, because some people are like, yeah, I've been working on it for like 4 years. I'm like, wow. And then it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I wrote it once and we shot it in a day. I'm like, that's amazing.
I'm very big on getting my films done. I'm not, I'll talk and I'll get it done. I don't like to waste time, especially something I've learned when writing is write around some places you can get to and places you can't afford. So that
Right.
helps filmmakers because people are, oh, I need like this many houses, I need a nice place to film, and they get crushed because they can't get those things.
Right.
They have to change the script.
It's clearly not your first rodeo.
No, it's not.
Pun
Second.
intended.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I love puns.
No.
I mean, believe it or not, this is his second rodeo.
Yeah.
He's now had a third, and I've been fortunate enough to be in all of his films.
Wow.
I've directed 4 films in a year and a half. One of them was a friend of mine, but 3 other ones I've been.
Wow.
So.
How did you guys come to start working together?
Well, he called me and I submitted on a casting for a project he was shooting his very first film called Two Wheels.
Okay.
And he liked me for a particular role with that, and we worked together on his first film. And when Unripe came along, he presented me this character. And the funny thing is that I didn't think I was going to be available. I was working on something else, and he needed me to drive out to California City very early in the morning to get there in time for the shoot. And I turn it down at first. I said, I don't think I can make this happen. And he very, very kindly did the shooting schedule, so I could arrive at 1 PM.
Wow.
When I got out there, I could just see it was so beautiful. It was so standing there. I could see it was going to be beautiful on film.
Yeah.
And you will see tonight how beautiful it is. And at that point, I was so glad I was able to make it happen. And as it turns out,
Well, it's a interesting. I mean, I feel like it happens so much in film where you work with someone, and I mean, there's so much collaboration that when you meet those people that like they get it, they get your vision, you kind of work together, you just kind of call them back, and it's like, hey, I have this other thing I'm working on. Do you want to be a part of it?
He's been on 3 films of mine.
Wow.
Well, again, one my friend, it was her thesis project that I directed, but I called him up too and I asked him, hey, can you be a part of this as well? So, there's just people I want to work with for long periods of time.
Yeah, totally.
And I was gonna say something else.
but he's that way with his DPs, that way with his
Yeah,
script
with the
supervisor.
crew, with
I
everything.
think we all feel like a family, and we know we're on
Totally.
board for life.
Yeah. Once you find those people, you just kind of like hang on to them because it's not easy working together, collaborating to bring something to life. So were there obstacles? Were there challenges?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So the filming day, we were working at 20-mile-per-hour winds.
Oh.
And it was really cold. 20-mile-per-hour winds, plus being very, very cold. And then right when we finished, it started raining. And so we just got so
Within
lucky,
minutes, we avoided the rain.
but the sounds was I have my boom op over here, and he what he did was just, he's so good at his job, and the sound was just perfect. So we didn't have to do any ADR additions.
Oh my God.
Sound mixing.
I was so sure while we were out there, you're going to need to go back.
Yeah,
and
hold
fix
on,
this.
because we're talking 20 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So
Hold on.
Yeah.
I was shocked that it came out beautifully without any fixing. It came out.
Oh my God. Yeah, because that's an art. Just without wind.
Yes.
Having good sound is so imperative because it just kind of throws it. Now with wind, that's amazing. That's why, again, going back to having crew that you can trust and can get the job done. So what was the best part of it? Because you're in, like, I mean, you wrote it, you directed. Did you edit it, or did you have somebody edit it?
So okay, there's a lot to this.
It's a lot to unpack.
So I've never edited a film in my life, and I like I said, I like to get things done. So I asked my cinematographer, hey, can you send me all this footage? I wanted to try to edit. So I edited the whole film on my phone in one night. And when
your phone?
Yeah, there's this app
What?
that I use, InShot.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, yes, I use that.
But I use it for like social media. I can't imagine like editing a short film on InShot.
I didn't do the sound. I had somebody else do the sound, but I pieced the whole film together that night, and I stayed up so late trying to do it. And then I sent it to the cinematographer and had him kind of adjust certain things. But I wanted it just to be done. I wanted to get it out there, and it's been back to the writing part too. When I wrote it, I was like, how can I make a film? If I were to make a film in one room, how can I make that exciting? And that's kind of what I thought about when writing this film. And yeah, this film's been. I got flown out to Spain to go see it out there. There's Almeria Western Film Festival.
Yeah.
They accommodated me to go out there because they absolutely loved it. Beat over like 1,600 submissions. I was out there I think for a whole week, and I'm so proud of this film. And
wait, so is this still what I'm gonna see tonight? Is this an in-shot edited film?
Yeah.
I love that.
I just learned that yesterday. I had no idea.
I love that because it just kind of goes to show, like, I mean, what I love from this is just that, like, you just gotta do it.
Yes.
You just gotta, sometimes it's like we get all worked up. It's like, I don't have the editing software. I don't know how to edit. I don't have the camera. It's like, well, we're very fortunate here. We have the phones. We have InShot. We have this. So it's really inspiring.
It's been such a great journey with this film. I'm actually writing a feature on it, and
based on the short.
Yes. So like a year later afterwards, things that happen, and I want to pitch it to my dream is pitching to Ethan Hawke. Trying to get him on board.
Well, after what Rosanna said tonight about being approached to do short films or even independent film projects.
Yeah.
And so I think we've gotten over 30 awards on it, and it's been a huge success for me. Everybody involved, and I'm excited to be here at Yucca Valley.
Yeah, and getting that feedback.
Be a part of this as well. Yeah.
How far are you in the feature? Like, are you still in the process of writing?
I'm still writing. Yeah, I really want to take my time on because I want it to be. I don't want to have to keep doing drafts. I want it to be like the first.
Yeah.
And
have you written a feature before?
I did. It was the first film I did with.
Okay.
Alan.
It was a feature. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that was my first film. It's not done yet, but I mean it is done. But we're adjusting some things. But that was my very first film I ever did. And features are tough. They're tough to write because they.
Harder for you than the short film?
I would say so, in my opinion, because I have short attention span. But also I'm very particular on my work and how I want it to come out.
Yeah.
But kudos to anybody who can do short films because again, I think Rosanna mentioned earlier, you're putting so much of the story in such a small time.
Yes. And, you need a beginning, middle, and end, and not try to branch out into all these different ideas. Yeah. There's a whole art to short films as well. So.
Yeah, and I wrote a prequel on this. I don't know if I want to do that.
As a short?
Yeah.
What software do you use when you're writing?
I use Final Draft on my phone. There's an app they have on the phone.
Wow.
Everything's on my phone.
That phone
but
I hope you write it off on your taxes.
Yeah.
It's a business expense.
Yeah. It's easy because it's at my disposal. It's right there. I'm not having to, lunk around a computer and find time to sit down. I'm waiting for something to start writing on the script.
Amazing. I'm super excited to see it. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. It is part of the short films blog. Oh, it's this one. I'm going to give a little preview. It's that top one right here. Let's see. We're Unripe. Short films block number 2. Amazing. What's the story behind the director name versus
the director name is P.M. Nelson, my first name and middle name. And the reason I had it be that like that because I met another director and his name was Philip Nelson, spelled the same way. Looking up on IMDb, looking up on IMDb, it was so tough, and I was like, okay, I want something different, I want something unique.
That is smart.
Just change it up, and I kind of was thinking like J.K. Simmons, J.K. Rowling, stuff like that. M. Night Shyamalan, stuff like that. And I was like, I want a little like pizzazz.
Yeah, I love that.
It just stuck.
And then you're the opposite because you have all 3.
But I did it for the same reason because on IMDb there were so many Alan Andersons spelled different ways, 2 L's and an E, 1 L and an A, So I added my middle name just to make sure I was the only one. Because people, when I first started it was during the pandemic, which I really started focusing on polishing up all the acting stuff.
Okay.
And one of the things I noticed on IMDb was that I had someone else's credit, someone else had my credit. And this has to stop. I have to make it very clear who I am.
Yeah.
So that's why I just added my middle name. So you're right. My name got longer, his got shorter.
Yeah, but for the same exact reason. You have to stand out in the industry. And exactly like you're saying, if you don't, you get mixed up with other people. So I think That was really smart. Is it hard to like get when? Because for me, my issue is always I have accents on the E, and it's always hard. I'm always like in the credits. I'm like, add. I want to like start a company that's called Accent on the E because I'm just always like add the accent on the E. Is it sometimes you see it on the credit where they put like Philip Nelson? You're like, PM, and same like Alan.
Mine has happened where they leave out my middle name.
Yeah.
And I'll be sitting there in the theater watching the credits roll and go, "Where's my middle name?"
Yeah,
Because I mean, it's so
same.
clear on every piece of paperwork and every, you know. So
I always
hopefully-
make sure people know that too when I help on their productions, because I help produce as well. And
Yeah.
when I help people produce films, I'm like, okay, well, make sure to just put my name down like this, because that's important.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's that's our branding.
Well,
And
one thing I have learned
Exactly.
exactly right. One thing I have learned is after wrap, when we're in post, you get that editor's name the first day you're on set, and you make sure you contact them and say, "I just want to make sure you know that this is how my name is."
Yes,
Yeah, it's
yes.
good.
Because even if you tell somebody else in the team, it's
That's
just
right.
like at the end of the day, that editor's the one that needs that
That's right.
information. So that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Some things you learn.
Yeah, exactly. In the radio
That's
of filmmaking. Amazing. Well, thank you so much,
Thanks for having
Alan.
me.
And but when you're should I say Philip?
Call me Philip. that's
Philip.
fine.
It's like people call me, but in the credits it's PM.
Yeah, or also when people present my film, I like to hear PM Nelson, the
Oh,
director.
cool. Okay,
But-
okay, okay.
And outside of filming, Philip.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
this was our chat with PM Nelson and Alan
Wayne
Anderson. Amazing. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys,
thanks,
for
Thanks so
coming
much.
out
It was a
here
pleasure.
to Yucca Valley, and I'm super excited to
Yeah.
take a look at Unripe in the second
Let us
block
know what
today.
you think. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you afterwards.
I'm so excited. Thank you, guys.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, so I have a couple more interviews lined up. I am going to grab them, and I will be right Hello, everyone. We are back and we have a super exciting interview now because it's totally different from the other ones we've had. I'd love to welcome Brian Katona. Brian, welcome. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Great. Now, you're not originally from here.
I'm not originally from here.
Where are you
No.
from?
Originally from Michigan.
Okay.
And then various stages. We actually lived in Los Angeles for a while,
Okay.
but now we're in Eastern Pennsylvania. So
Very
a little bit of
cool.
everywhere.
Yeah, kind of like you came all the way over to the West Coast. Welcome to Yucca Valley.
Thank you.
So this is exciting because this is different. Brian, you are a music composer.
That's correct.
And tomorrow there's a presentation at 1:00, music composers panel. It's an interactive event and it's how to compose music for the screen. So give us a little kind of preview. How
Yeah.
did you get into?
Well, it's a great question. So I started piano lessons when I was young.
Okay.
Like 10 years old. And then from that point, really just started getting into composing as well. Just would create little melodies here and there.
Okay.
And then always had a love for film also. So just that kind of combination. And of course, watching the great films on the screen and seeing the fantastic composers, John Williams, and you name it. And was always a source of inspiration.
Yeah.
I went into music as far as education, and my degrees are in conducting and performance and all of that.
Wow.
But always kind of composed along at the same time.
Okay.
So really just kind of got the bug. I attended the Aspen Music Festival
Okay.
about a decade or so ago. And from there, I did the film scoring program. And that really gave me the interest in, let's try to pursue this. So we moved to Los Angeles and started making connections. And that's sort of where it began, really.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, how does, there's a bunch of musicians out there that some might think, like, I'm a musician, I compose, but I never thought of, composing for film. So I was going to ask, like, how does one go from just being a musician to like, hey, I want to specifically compose for film? And so how did you go about like making those connections?
Really a lot of it is just friends of friends. You make that social connection with stuff, and they find you're a composer, and they're like, hey, I have this buddy that I know that worked on a film. And actually, there was a friend of ours that was in our wedding, and he had a buddy that he grew up with in New Jersey, and said, hey, Brian, you're a great composer. And my friend that I grew up with in New Jersey had this big project that he's looking for a composer. Okay, so we opened up that conversation, and that was kind of the first big thing that we did, which is sort of a New Jersey-based documentary that did pretty well. And that's really where that relationship started. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just developing those relationships with the directors and making that connection.
Yeah. I feel like everything in this industry is connections and, who you know. Because at the end of the day, when it works, you kind of just keep working with the same people.
Right, exactly.
So you also have a short film in competition that you have music that you compose. How did that collaboration come about?
So same director, David Kuznicki, who runs Media 523, which is a great production company. They did that New Jersey documentary.
Okay.
I've done several things with them. And then this short is also by him. So it's a really lovely story from North Dakota. It's a small town called Haddon, North Dakota.
Okay.
And it's about a lady that grew up there her entire life. And she was raised church-going person and all this kind of stuff. But she had a nice relationship with her mother where they would always wear fancy hats and they go out and do little outfits and have little pageants and stuff like that. Her mother passed away from COVID, unfortunately.
Oh.
So she had this sort of remembrance in the church where all the ladies would come together and they'd wear the fancy hats in honor of her. So it's a real beautiful, short 7-8 minute piece. But the music that I wrote for that, I think was hopefully heartfelt and kind of conveyed that emotion that she was trying to express.
And I'm curious with like music composing, because I feel like many times editors will kind of place the music and edit with the music, but then other times do they give you a kind of edited thing and you put the music? Like, is it a standard of which one goes first? Does it change depending on the project?
I mean, this particular director is really great that he'll usually almost cut the film to my music, which is super rare. Usually it's the other way around, that your music gets chopped up, but because he likes the way I write, he'll often change things on his end, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
So he'll give me like an 8-9 minute product, and then I'll compose to that, and then he'll actually edit the film itself to see if it can fit the music. I mean, I'll change things too.
Interesting.
It's kind of a nice way of going about it.
Yeah, but it's usually they'll show you the edited, more or less final, and then you take the. I guess they tell you like, "Hey, we're going for this kind of vibe."
Yeah, I mean, if you start from the beginning, the first thing is just that conversation with the directors. Like,
Okay.
hey, this is what the film is about. You get a synopsis, you get a feel, and then they talk about ideas. And then once the film is cut, which is toward the end of the process, you spot the film with the directors, you sit down, you watch it together, and then you have that discussion. Like, I think this should be this type of music, or this should be this type of music, and then you kind of get like an outline, almost like a blueprint.
Okay.
And then what I do is I compose a couple of themes. So I try to find some ideas that really speak to the subtext of the emotion. Like this lady here, I created a short 3-4 minute theme that I felt really kind of pulled at the heartstrings a little bit, and then I would show that to him and play that for him and say, hey, does this fit? And then in this case it did. Sometimes it doesn't. It's like, oh, that works, or maybe tweak this. And then once I get a feel for that, I guess that initial seed, that kind of kernel of what it is. Like if you think of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, it's 3 notes at the beginning, right?
Yes.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
That's it. But the whole thing kind of spirals out of that. So I think of film scoring in that way, that if you find those 3 or 4 notes that really speak to the character, then you have the goal, basically. And then you just kind of move it around. So if it's a sad scene, you play it slower. If it's a happier scene, you play it faster. You kind of have that flux.
Can you, and I guess was it the same for a feature? Like, I mean, 2.5 hours, you can kind of.
Yeah, it would be different themes. Like, I mean, John Williams is a great example. If you look at Star Wars, he's got 6, 7, 8 different themes throughout that for each character, for each moment, and each of those themes go in and out of each other. They morph depending on what's on the screen itself. So I think in shorter films, you don't want a whole lot of material just because it's short. You don't want to overwhelm the audience. You want to create that memorable thing in the ear that when you hear it, it's like, oh, that's that character, that's that feeling or emotion.
What's your favorite part of the whole process?
I think it's this discovery, finding that initial seed. Like, what is that about that character? And sometimes it takes a long time. Like, I think that's where I spend most of my time, is just figuring out what is that initial move.
What does that look like? Are you just sitting at a piano, just trying different things?
Yeah, so I'll watch it a lot. Like, I'll watch it 12, 13, 14 times just so I can feel for it, so I can kind of internalize who these characters are. And then, I'll basically go to the piano with pen and paper and then just start writing out some ideas, and then watch it again, and then kind of play it against it and see, hey, does this fit? Does this not fit? And then there's like a light bulb, like suddenly, like, oh, that feels right. And then I'll try to write out 8 measures, 16 measures, and then record that and send that to the director and then see, does this match what your vision is? Because I think ultimately that's the most important thing. The directors spend 10, 15, 20 years on projects sometimes, and then the composer comes in at the very end, and they can make or break the film in terms of the emotion. So you really need to make sure their vision is made correct.
No, we see it with like in scary movies. If you take out the like suspenseful music, I mean, the music plays such a like integral part. So that's is that the most challenging part or the most fun part? Because I feel like that was both the same.
Both. It's
the
both
most
challenging and fun. Yeah, because just finding that can sometimes take that time. But I think if you have enough conversations with the director, if you really watch the film with an open mind, without any preconceived notions, then it's usually a little bit easier. Just kind of like clear your mind and just try to find what works and what style
that's fun.
And the beauty of the film too is that it's almost easier than composing a choral piece or an orchestral piece, which has lesser restraints. Like you can write a 5-minute piece, a 10-minute piece, where a film is it's 8 minutes long, 30 seconds, and the scene is 30 seconds long, and you have to really kind of narrow things down. So I like that part of it too.
Do you compose, like, do you only do composing for film, or you just do?
No, I do everything. I've done orchestral stuff, choral stuff, some piano stuff. I've got a lot of published concert kind of music, musical theater. I've done a lot of that.
Oh, I love I'm a musical theater child.
Your favorite musical theater shows?
One of my favorite? Yeah. Well, I love Wicked.
Wicked's great.
I mean, it's just the story. It's and then as the Latina, I love On Your Feet because the music, just like seeing the music from like my childhood on stage, which I just never see for me. It was like super.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It was really, it's special. It's like it hits a different chord. To be musical,
but like Film in a way, it has that vibe, that connection to the characters and to the story.
Yeah, and to like that emotional, like music really, like we all know. I mean, how much music like hits the soul. So I think that's super exciting. So, what would you say to somebody that's like just starting out as a musician that wants to get it? Like, would it be like network? Would it be watch a lot of movies? Would it be find your like?
Yeah, that wants to get in film scoring. I mean, find your passion. I mean, find what you like. Find your own style, because ultimately everything you compose will sound like you, one way or the other.
Okay.
So be comfortable with that, and just so play a lot, perform a lot, get that experience of just being a musician, having that comfortability. And then the other end of it is that it's the business piece where go to events like this, and meet people, have relationships, and friends of friends, and that's I think 90% of all the work I've gotten has been that just conversations, being open to people. And this person knows this person, and that's really how it works. Just be willing to put yourself out there. And then the other bit of advice is don't worry about failing. Like, it's okay to do something wrong, or maybe a project doesn't work. And top name composers have gotten their scores thrown out sometimes, but they kept going.
Well, that must be so scary when you like send it off and just, what if they don't like? What if it's totally off? And it's like, it's okay that it's off. You just redirect but getting past that first, like
that is a scary moment, where it's like, here's what I wrote, here's my baby,
God,
it's like a piece in an art gallery. Like, what are they really going to think? But then I appreciate the feedback. Like, the better the director is, the more honest they are. Like, hey, this really works, but this doesn't. Like, I love that because then I can
was it hard at first though to get like to be like, this isn't right?
Yeah, I think one of the whatever the first film is that I did, a little bit. You take it to heart. It's like, oh wait, but I worked so hard on it. But it doesn't matter because for me, when you compose a concert piece, it's just your music. The focus is the music only. We're here, you're the composer, and you're serving the film. And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing a good job.
Yeah, like if they're focused more on the music, even though it's like, hey, this is my thing, you're not doing it right because it's supposed to just all kind of blend
like
together.
If the score just sticks out so much, that's the only thing that you remember, that's not good. Unless it's like a key moment that it needs to be just fanfares or whatever. But it really should blend in and just support the emotion of the characters.
Absolutely. Oh, cool. I'm so excited to see this demonstration. Are you planning on like making something on the spot?
Yeah, so I have a couple things. So in movies, there's two main types of music. You have music that are songs that are either written for the movie or that they take from somewhere else and put into the film. So that's one form of music in movies. And then, of course, the thematic stuff, the theme from Star Wars, the theme from Jaws, and stuff that's
that's interesting that they're like different.
Very much, yeah. If you think like I'm going to play a couple songs, like the theme from Rocky or whatever.
Right.
Just, great music, and those have their real special place. And sometimes as a composer, you have to do both. Like in this short piece that I did, I had to do both. I had to write a song and then also the underscore. So how do you approach that? Like, how do you write a song for a film, and how do you write the underscore, and then how do you weave the two together?
But what makes like an Can an underscore be a song and a song be an underscore?
Kind of, yeah. I mean,
do you understand my question?
If you think like a traditional song, that's usually like a 32-bar chorus, or you get a verse, a chorus, or
right,
that structure.
Right,
song.
okay,
like turn on the radio, it's a pop song, it's 3 minutes and 40 seconds or whatever. So it's a song
that has that structure.
It's got that structure. Whereas like if I go back to stage 5, 3 notes, da, 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 that's it. That's your theme. And then what do you do with that theme? You expand it, you evolve it. If you think of any of the John Williams stuff, like Jaws, for example, just 2 notes. That's it. And then how does he arrange that? How does he morph it? So it's not just like 16 bars of this, 16 bars of that.
Gotcha.
It'll be 5, 2, and 3, and chopped up because you're matching it to the film.
Interesting. So like the theme from Rocky, is that considered a song?
It is, yeah. The Eye of the Tiger. That's what.
Right. But so then is that considered also like the underscoring?
Not so much. I mean, they may have worked it in later in like the score, but if you notice any of those moments in the movie where it's just like a song, usually it's a training sequence or it's whatever the situation. There's not a whole lot of dialogue. Like you just hear the tune, and your ears are focused on that. So you think of any of those sports films, there's that training montage. Usually there's a nice song, they're like pop song, rock song, and sometimes they're written specifically for the movie, and sometimes they take like, hey, I want a Queen song or something.
Yeah.
Whereas the score, it's more like what happens when people are talking. It's the underneath element.
Yeah. And do the directors usually know, hey, we want an underscore here, or like, hey, we want a song here?
Yeah, sometimes more so nowadays. A lot of directors they put like a temp list, so they'll get like 5, 6, 10 different songs, put it to the picture, and say, "Hey, I want the movie to sound like this." So maybe there's a pop song here, and then maybe there's a John Williams piece here, and they're like, "This is my vision, so go ahead and write this because we can't afford John Williams." So,
but then, do they ask you like, write a song, or do they say this is the vibe that I want? Don't write a song, write an underscore.
Sometimes a little bit of both. I think it really depends on the director and the situation.
Do you sometimes say like, hey, I know you want a song, but I think we could use an underscore here?
It was kind of the other way for this short film. So at the very end, I just wanted like a basic, play off for the end credits kind of thing. I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to have a song? Because earlier in the film, she talks about being in church and singing and all this kind of stuff. So to me, it thought, well, maybe like a little simple hymn or something very basic. So I suggested it to him. He's like, great, go for it. So I hired a singer, I wrote some lyrics, and created a little. It was short, short.
Yeah, cool.
So that was sort of my idea. But oftentimes it's the other way around. So.
Interesting. No, I love that. I feel like I'm going to differentiate now. Like I'm listening to an underscore. I'm listening to.
Yeah, think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
the lyrics, of course, are the key,
Yeah.
but sometimes not.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, I'm so excited for the demonstration tomorrow. I'm
Thank you. Yeah, me
so
too.
glad you came all the way over to this coast. And yeah, I look forward to watching this all in action in person tomorrow.
That'll
So
be fun.
thank you so much for joining
Thank
me.
you. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right.
Amazing. All right, guys. That was Brian Katona. He has his demonstration tomorrow at 1 p.m. Music Composers Panel, how to compose music for the screen. So basically kind of what we talked about a little more in depth, and we actually get to see it in person. So I believe I got another filmmaker lined up. So I'm going to step out and we will be right back. All right, guys, we are back, and I have with me Mr. Stephen Burns. Welcome, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Good, of course. So, Stephen, you are a scriptwriter.
For this, yes.
Yeah.
I have a script in the festival. Yes, ma'am.
Amazing. So, tell us a little bit of what's the name and what's it about.
So it's called Ludlow. It's a Western with a sci-fi twist. So it's a small town called Ludlow. Jessica Eldridge is trying to rid her town of like a violent gang that's in there. And at one point, she meets this mysterious neighbor that she's seen around the town, and he turns out to have like superhuman abilities, and he's like a superhero.
Okay.
So she feels that she's found the way to get the gang out of her town, but he wants nothing to do with her or the town. Like the only reason he exists is to make sure that there's never superheroes again. Like he just wants to rid the world of superheroes.
Okay.
So now when the tensions rise, it's this dilemma of, can Jessica convince him to help her free the town of this evil, or risk changing everything?
Interesting. Now, is this a short or a feature?
It's a feature.
Okay, I was like, yeah, because if it's a short, that's a lot.
Yeah, no.
That's a lot.
No, I've done a lot of shorts, but I really wanted to get into the feature realm. So
Very
I
cool.
sat
Is this
down
your
and started
first
writing.
feature?
Writing first feature, yes, ma'am.
Really? And have you found that it's harder to write a feature compared to a short?
Honestly, no. Like I had a blast writing this feature.
Really?
I did jump around a lot, so like a scene will pop in my head and I'd write it and then be like, okay, how can I connect this with the rest of the film?
Oh,
but
you'd write it like separately.
Yes. So like when introducing the superhero was like the first part, but he's not until like I think like page 50 or 60 of the script. But that was like the first thing I wrote because I knew how I wanted to introduce him. Then I was like, how do we get to that point? Okay, cool. But I also have great friends. My friend Jake Shaver, he's an editor, but he takes the time to sit down with me and kind of flush everything out. He'd be like, okay, let's work this out, dude. Let's go through boom, boom, boom.
Has it gone through several iterations, like versions?
Yes. Now I have it as draft 4, but to be brutally honest, it's probably at draft 10. Yeah, but it's
officially
officially draft number 4. Yep.
Yeah, because
exactly.
if you draft every time you just like change a word
Yeah.
or two, it's just
Yeah.
like
Well, because I would show it to people and they would give me notes, and I really liked their notes, so I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna put that in there. Okay, cool. But I wouldn't change the draft. I'll do that later.
Do you feel like it's at a final thing? Or
I honestly do now.
Yeah.
Yes, with everyone's notes that I've gotten. There's another gentleman. His name's Alan Gilmore. He's a producer.
Okay.
I had the honor of sending it to him, and he honored me back with really great notes, and I was able to take that and change a lot of the stuff. So I really feel it's at a great point now. Yeah.
How long has it taken you to get from inception to this point?
So I honestly started writing this in 2018. I was working on a show, and I kind of got the idea. Yeah, but I was working on the show, so there'd be times where I'd be, I have to go, and then I'd come hit it back up, and then go and back and forth. So yeah, I've been at it for a while, and then again, I wouldn't be comfortable with it, and then I was like, okay, now I think I'm comfortable to submit it to film festivals and try and get out there. I have a lookbook ready for it and everything. So
very cool. I see you have like a little. Can I see the?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I brought these just in case people wanted to see.
Yeah, I love that. Do you write on do you use Final Draft?
Yes, Final Draft, yeah. But this year, honestly, my friend Dean, who worked on that, it was called Last Call Carson Daly. He was the effects editor on that, and he helped me create this. This is his poster he made for me personally.
Oh, this is so cool.
But then this way we can bring it on the back. It talks about the script, and then if you scan the QR code, it takes you to the script and my lookbook, so you can look it over.
Steven, you have got your material.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this.
I love
super
this.
Excited. Yes.
This is so pro.
I'm a kid in a candy store right now.
Yeah, this is super exciting. Yeah. So are you a scriptwriter first?
Directing. This is my first. I've always directed. I've been doing directing. I've done a lot. This is my 3rd year in this particular film festival.
Oh, cool.
I've had music videos in this film festival. This year was the script, but I've done music videos and commercials, short films. That's where the passion is directing. But I know that I want to move over to movies, so that's why I was like, I'm going to write my own script. That way I can direct it and then go. Because the other thing is, I've done a lot of assistant directing, like first AD.
Okay, yeah.
So when I wrote this script, I kind of thought
wrote
about
it with
what would a producer, what would a first AD.
I heard that same thing from another interview.
Yeah, oh, good, yeah.
I was a first AD, so when we were planning this, it was just from there, and it just goes to show that position really helps you with. Because
when you're showing it to a producer, right, I can also say, well, the reason it's like this is because it's like takes place in one town. Yeah. So I can be like, that's why I don't need 250 million to make this film, right? Yeah. I don't want to scare producers away. I want to bring.
Totally. Did you have to take like any screenwriting classes, courses, or did you just from experience being on set?
Well, experience on sets, yeah. I apologize. I hope I'm not throwing names out. I was on a show called Grace and Frankie that was on Netflix, and I got real friendly with the writers and the writing group and Marta Kaufman, and I was able to sit in on some of those, like watching them. Like she was talking about Jane Fonda, and I was like, yeah, I worked with Jane Fonda on the show, so I got to hear the notes and like just listen to what they were doing, and that's kind of where I got a lot of inspiration from.
Being in the room is just a lesson.
Exactly, it was an absolute honor. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah. What were some of the challenges you faced, like writing the script?
Honestly, the story, I got to tell you, like a lot of it is dialogue. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like when you read it, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a script. Like who says that in real life?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. So like again, going back to Jake, like Jake and I would sit there and say it out loud, and I'm like, dude, that sounds weird, right? And then the thing that I got from Alan is I had like cussing in it, like cuss words, and then Alan was like, it's a Western. Takes place in 1880. They didn't cuss like that in 1880, and I was like,
"Oh my god!"
Let me go back and take those out. Didn't even think about it. Good call, dude.
Did you have to like research like how do they speak in 1880?
I did, in names. Like the first thing I did was names from 1880. Like what was the most popular names, and I went with that. At one point, I think I had like 7 names that started with J. It was like Jeremy, Jeff,
because that was popular.
Jesse, Jessica, yeah. And people would read it and they're like, dude, you have so many J's. I'm like, you're right. Okay. And then I just start
wow, that's
switching.
amazing. People notice that.
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So now you're working on making this.
That's the goal. Yep. I mean, I still have projects lined up. Like people have hit me up to film music videos, so I have that in the future, which I'm very, very excited about. But yeah,
that's your baby.
On this. Yes, it is.
Yeah, amazing.
Trying to get it going.
Cool. So do you have any advice for somebody that's like just getting into like wants to write their own thing? Maybe they don't consider themselves a script writer first. What would you say?
Definitely the same. Like I'm not a script writer. I want to make sure I don't want people to think I'm like Aaron Sorkin or anything.
Script,
exactly. But no, I definitely like write it out like scene by scene. Again, going back to Jake, like taking out note cards. This is the character. Like that just helped me out so much of like, okay, well, what's her journey? Right?
Okay.
Like, where is, because the lead actress is Jessica, like that's the main character. Like, where is she going? Like, the first time I wrote it, like there was no clear, like everyone's like, who's the main character? I can't tell who the main character is. So I was like, that's a good point. And then again, going back to Jake, he was like, dude, boom, and we just sat down going through. So advice is just plan it out, like work on your characters, and then once you kind of have like a good like basis, it's like, okay, then I can. Like, don't worry about the dialogue. Yeah, that's going to come to you. It's the story. Like, I'm very big on the story. So if you can get that great story, then once you sit in front of the computer and start typing, it's just gonna come out. It's gonna feel.
Did
great.
that come mostly when you started doing the feature, or do you feel like when you're doing a short script as well?
I feel nervous with short films as well, just because I feel like I'm not doing a good job. Like I can do better. And then that's when I love getting in touch with like an actor or an actress and being like, okay, what do you think? Like what, like you're reading this, does it sound like a script, or does it sound like something you're going to say? And then I love just getting that feedback and that collaboration. I'm very big on collaboration, like not doing it by myself. I'll give everyone the credit. Like I'll be like, dude, I'll give you full credit. I really appreciate you taking the time to help me with this. So that's another big one, is just if you have someone that can help you out, that'd be a lot.
Yeah. I mean, something as simple as like, there's a lot of J's.
Yeah,
in this.
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
The cussing thing, it's like, I didn't think about that.
I didn't think of any.
Yeah, because sometimes you just have this like tunnel vision that you just need to like step back. So now I guess not being afraid too of like showing people.
Oh, it's fun. Like, to be honest, I've had a blast doing this, but there's just been those times where I write it all out, and then when people read, they're like, dude, okay, what's the point? I'm like, yeah, you're right. Okay, my bad. Let me go back and take a step back.
Is that hard, like to just tell them like, please give me honest.
Oh, I love honest feedback. Yeah, I love it. Like straight up tell me, like, hey man, I really hated reading this. Okay, why? Because of this? Okay, then I'll go back and change it.
Oh God, what do you mean? Especially
Yeah.
after working like for 5 years.
I'm always looking to get better. So I'm always, if somebody gives me that stuff, then I'm like, great, then I'll take it and make it better and go from there.
God, yeah, I feel like you need that. You need that thick skin, because or else people are gonna be like, yeah, no, it was great, man. Like, and then they go home, it's like there were a lot of J's in there.
Because the first time I wrote this, it was 139 pages. And I was super happy. I was like, man, I have a long script. And then I sent it to a producer friend of mine, and he looked and came back. He's like, I'm not reading 139 pages. Get this down to maybe 90 and I might take a look. And I was like, really? I thought you would want more. And they were like, no, dude, no. So then we went back, and again, I know I keep throwing his name out, but I went to Jake and we sat down and we got it down to 90 pages. I rewrote it to 90 pages and got it to 90.
50 pages out.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
I feel like that's so hard. It's just like, it's just so good. It's like,
I did write a scene with, there's a young boy, and his name's Robert, and I did write a scene with him, and no lie, as soon as I finished writing it, I was like, this is the first scene that's going to get cut. I know it. I know this will be the first, and it was the first one cut. Yeah.
How do you decide that?
I don't know. It was just something about it. Like, I wanted to show that he was changing, like he was becoming not just a kid, like having fun, but like he's living in this violent town, so he's becoming violent, and I really liked the scene. I was like, oh, it's showing that he's becoming violent. Okay, cool. And then when we're going through it, it's like, you can lose that scene. Like that will, just go, because it like, just, I don't know. It just, that was the first notes that I always got. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll take it out.
You got the notes were that you got to cut, or that scene was
just cut.
Nah.
And that, like, a lot of the times I say, okay, I got to cut. What do you think? And they're like, well, this scene with Robert, I get where you're going with it, but you don't really need it. You can lose it, because then you can show that he's turning violent later on. And I was like, all right,
did you ask people that when you knew you had to cut it down? Was that something you asked people, like, hey, if you had to cut things?
Yeah,
like...
I asked opinions, like if there was a certain scene or there was like dialogue that just went on way too long. Because another note I got was my action was way too long. They were like, dude, you're describing like the wind blowing, and you don't need all that, dude. Like, he walks in the bar, we get it. He's walking in, we get it. And I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying. So that also helped with narrowing it down to 90 pages, because I took my action and just simpled it down to he gets shot instead of he gets shot, but he felt bad. And he's on the ground. It's like, dude, he got shot, man. He got shot. He got shot. I'm like, you're right. He got shot.
I love that. That's a great point. Yeah, I think sometimes we just want to like flourish it because we feel like that's what, even when I had a music producer friend, and he had this song, it just had so much going on. And I was like, and that was the one feedback that he always got. It's like, yo, less is more. And I think sometimes we just feel like we need to like add to make it look like, look, I can write, I can make music, I can this. And then, that validation of people telling you like,
Yep.
trust your work, and you can cut it down. So, but I love that, because I'm like, how do you go about cutting 50 pages? So the fact that you're like that collaboration, they just let me ask people, and they help you get it to where it is.
Well, another reason why I started in 2018, and I feel like I'm at a good point, is because at one point I was like, well, I got to cut. What am I going to cut? And then I would have to think on it, and then I'd work on something. Once that was done filming, I'd come back and look at it.
Interesting. Very cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I
appreciate it.
really, really rooting for you, and I
Thank you.
hope it comes. Life gets breathed into the script,
I
and we
hope
get
so.
to see it on the big screen.
It'll be a lot
You've
of
had
fun.
music videos here, and you've had a script. So hopefully, one of these years, we get to see Ludlow
Oh, that'd be
as
phenomenal.
one of the feature films.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much
Thank you. I
for
appreciate it.
coming out here. Are you from the area?
Well, we drove out from Burbank, me and my wife.
Oh, very cool.
So we agreed, because it did take us about 3 hours to get out here. So we were like, yeah, we get it. The traffic's crazy.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a holiday.
Yeah,
weekend,
exactly.
Because I'm in the valley, and I think it took me 4 hours on Friday
Yeah.
to get here. Initially, when I looked, I was like, "Oh, we're 2 hours and 15 minutes. Amazing."
Yeah.
No, it was a
No.
LA traffic.
We'll stay until tomorrow, and then we'll head home tomorrow after ceremonies.
Perfect. Amazing. Well, I'm gonna be here all weekend too, so
Yeah,
I'll be
it'll be fun.
seeing you around. Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
again.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Stephen Burns talking about his script Ludlow. Really looking forward to seeing that on the screen once it gets produced. I believe that I have one more interview with a member of the Town of the Yucca Valley staff. And then right now they're actually doing a red carpet outside with the filmmakers. And then this evening we have short films starting at 7:00. So don't go anywhere. We got one more interview coming up in this vlog, and we'll be right back. And I'm back. We are streaming live both on Facebook and YouTube at the 5th annual anniversary of the Yucca Valley Film Festival. We are here at the Yucca Valley Community Center. They're doing red carpets outside while I'm doing interviews in here. We just spoke with Stephen Burns, and he is a scriptwriter. We had Jake Shaver tuning in saying it's a great script, definitely deserves to be made. I love the entire process of his story. It was super exciting. And now I have a member of the Yucca Valley Town staff. We're here with Tommy. Hello, Tommy Jones. How
Hi.
are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. Are you from here
I
originally?
am born and raised.
Born and
Yeah.
raised in Yucca Valley.
Yes.
How did you get into being part of the town staff?
So my freshman year, I was on the swim team at my high school.
Okay.
And Clayton, my supervisor now, he came to the pool looking for lifeguards and stuff.
Okay.
So then I started in aquatics with the town, and then I just worked my way up. That was almost 6 years ago.
You've been with the staff for 6 years.
Yeah. I started when I was 15. Now I'm 20, about to be 21.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow. Do you love it?
Oh, I love it. I love what I do. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So you, in what section do you work in?
So I'm in the recreation department. So I'm special events and public art. So like all the decorations in here and stuff, I led my staff to do all the decor, and
That's
then
so much fun.
the public art display in there. I helped with the building the new program.
I love that. How do you go about like do you make a Pinterest board? Do you gather people? Like, how do you decide?
This is actually, it was a little easier because we had it in person last year.
Yes.
So last year it would have probably been so different because of COVID being online for the 2
Right.
years prior. But I kept a lot of it the same because it's kind of a small area. So like maximizing like seating and things like
Yeah.
that was important. So not too much has changed, but like the photo op background I changed. So that was definitely a Pinterest board.
So have you been on since the beginning of Yucca Valley Film Festival?
Yes. The first one, I worked the very first one.
Well, and so the first one, from what you mentioned, the first one was in person.
Yes. And then
That
it
was
was
2019, right?
2018, I think.
2018.
I might be
2018. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Mhm.
And in 2019 and 20 were in virtual,
Mhm.
right? Because of COVID.
It was 2019. Sorry. You're right.
2019.
Yes, 2019 in person.
And in 2020, 2021,
virtual.
virtual.
And then 22 in person. And
which
it's
was last year. So
Yeah.
how's been your experience? Like, that's so cool that you've been
yeah.
since
So
the beginning.
so each in person one, I actually was in a different position work wise.
Okay.
So my first one, I was a rec assistant. So like
Okay.
very low on the totem pole. And then the next in person one, I was a rec leader. So
Okay, moving up on that
moving up a
totem
little
pole.
bit. And then this year I got promoted to coordinator, so now I'm full time.
Okay.
But it's interesting because like the first year you're like you don't know the vision, you're just like helping someone else build it. And then second year you're like understanding it more, and then third year you're like the one creating the vision, thinking of it. So it was very interesting to go through like all the different aspects and knowing how it feels to work the event in different positions.
How do you guys like? What's the planning protocol for you? Do you like get together and it's like there's different parts? So you're in charge of the
Yes.
decoration. Other
Yes.
people are in charge of like.
Yes, no, Matt and Oregon are fantastic. Honestly,
Yeah.
they do so much. Like this would not exist without them,
Yeah.
for sure. So, we would have bi-weekly meetings with them just to make sure
Starting since when? Bi-weekly. That's
that
every
was.
2 weeks.
We started having like a little Zoom call, maybe once a month, pretty early on. We start planning with them back in April, May.
Wow. You guys are planning this for
Yes.
months.
Yes. A lot of our events for the town are like that. Yeah. We start
Oh.
planning like our summer concert series. We'll start planning next month in December.
Wow. Oh my god. You guys are ahead of the
yeah,
game.
we try
like,
to be.
Amazing. No, it's super cool. I love seeing like the kind of behind the scenes and how you guys
Yes.
so you guys have these bi-weekly meetings and you're like, hey, I have this idea.
Yeah.
I want to put a
Or-
selfie
yeah.
booth.
And like discussing like new sponsors, just like all these different things. Yeah.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I love your town. This is my first time here. I heard so much about it and even
Yeah.
like the entire area. And I was like,
Yeah.
always like, I'll go at some point. I'll go at some point. I'll go at some point. And I've been on the West Coast now for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to have these events to like have a really like solid excuse to be
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go. And I got here and it's like, especially compared to LA, like it's so
Oh yeah. It's
peaceful.
so.
It's super nice.
Which is so interesting because I've grown up here my whole life. I've never
Yeah.
lived anywhere else.
Wow.
So it's crazy because it's changed so much since I was younger.
How
like it's
so?
gotten busier. It's gotten because Joshua Tree is so much more popular now.
Right.
So it's like it's busier, it's louder. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too because one of the first interviews that I had was with the head of the wrestling team, and his experience when he was younger growing up here was like once he graduated, he was like, I want to get out and go someplace not so quiet. And then
Yeah.
eventually with time, he's like, no,
I'm
I
okay with
want
it.
to. I
Yeah.
love that you're just like, no, I'm chilling.
Yeah,
Like
no.
this is
It was
super
yeah.
nice. No, I love. Is your whole family here in Yucca Valley?
They used to be. My dad
Okay.
was a business owner out here, and then my senior year of high school, after he moved to Tennessee with my siblings and his wife.
And you were like, I'm staying. In
I'm
Yucca
staying. I
Valley.
had work, and honestly, I really liked what I did here.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had just graduated high school, and this was 2021. I graduated high school,
okay.
so I'm a sophomore in college now. I'm a full-time college student.
Okay.
Yeah,
Here, I imagine.
I
like,
there's CMC, but I do take classes at COD
is that
down the hill. It's in Palm Desert, like kind of towards Palm Springs.
Is it literally down the hill, or that's what it's called?
It's like a local thing to say down the hill.
Okay.
So like you know
Down
the
the-
windy road that you take to get
Yeah,
up here on the
yeah.
highway? That's like the hill. So we call it down the hill.
Okay, but it's not like okay,
Yeah.
got it. It's literally down there, but it's not like
Yeah, it's like a little local thing. So,
Okay,
and then like people
interesting.
down there will be like, oh yeah, up the hill, and they're talking about like Joshua Tree, Yucca 29. Yeah, it's very.
Are we
interesting.
up the hill?
We're up the hill. We're elevated higher than down there.
Then down the hill.
Yes. So
Got
like
it.
Coachella, La Quinta, those kind of those cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's like down the
amazing.
hill.
I love it.
It's
I'm
so
gonna like
interesting because
I'm gonna
it's
talk
like
with
the,
that lane.
yeah, the
slang now.
colloquialism is like
Yeah.
fascinating because we've said it because a lot of people out here like their families like their parents were raised out here and stuff like that. So like you don't think of like the things you say that
Yeah.
are like
Yeah, you said it so like yeah, down the hill.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, there's a college like
so
down.
like yeah
the street?
casually yeah.
I like, do you see yourself kind of like staying here and
Honestly,
joining the board and
I see myself staying here
Yeah.
for a while, especially while I finish my degree,
what are you studying?
business admin. So kind of staying at where I am.
Yeah.
I like my it's interesting because I'm only 20 and I'm like full time
Yeah.
the town. So it's like
You're killing it. Girl.
it's interesting.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Tommy, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
of
taking the
course.
time to
Thank
sit with
you.
me, kind of giving us like a behind the scenes peek at how you guys,
Yes,
put this together.
It's very interesting because a lot of us like my staff and stuff like we grew up together. Some of us like we went to high school together, and it's really
And
cool.
I imagine is it small town enough that like you see the people coming in and you're
Yeah,
like, I know.
Definitely, it's definitely small town. Everyone knows everyone type vibes.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's so different from LA. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I'm like throughout all these interviews, I was like, you guys are making me want to move here.
Yeah, like we only have like one high school and one middle school, but then we have like 7 elementary schools.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but they're tiny.
And
like
a
one of
college
the-
down the hill.
Yeah.
I'm implementing
Yeah.
what I'm learning.
Good.
I love it. Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
Tommy.
thanks.
This is such a pleasure.
Yes,
I'm
thank you so
here
much.
all weekend, so I'm going to be seeing you
Yes,
around.
very
Amazing.
excited.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Tommy.
much.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, that was super cool getting to see kind of behind the scenes of how they do things here in Yucca Valley. So we have the short films block starting at 7 p.m. They're just wrapping up red carpets, and I want to go take my picture on the red carpet now. So I just want to give a shout out as well, Marianne Fenley at State Farm Yucca Valley. Thank you so much for sponsoring this podcast. Thank you to all the sponsors that have made this possible, and the town of Yucca Valley staff who have really put all of this together. It is a admission event. So if you guys are around, by all means, pop in. We're here all day tomorrow as well. We start at 1 p.m. There's a for the filmmakers. It's kind of a filmmaker special going on at 10 a.m. where everybody gets to kind of meet and mingle. At 1 p.m. we have the music composers panel and live piano demonstration, how to compose music for film with Brian Katona, which we spoke to today. It was super interesting conversation. 2 p.m. there's a script writers roundtable, which I'm super excited because I got to speak with a couple script writers today, and getting to put them all together, and everybody gets to kind of pick each other's brains of how they write scripts, how to take ideas from your mind and put it on paper or a screen. So those are really, really exciting roundtables. They do it every year at the festival. At 3:15, we have music videos and visual arts. 6 p.m. is the red carpet. At 7 p.m., we have a harp performance by harpist Arami that's going to kick off the award ceremony, which starts at 7:15. So it's been a super, super exciting day so far. Weekend, really. It's just been filled with activities. And I'm going to go take my picture on the red carpet, and then I'm going to come back to watch the short film. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm going to be back actually at 8:15 tonight, Pacific Standard Time, for one last interview with a filmmaker. So I will see you guys then.